Okay, take 5. So, what if I believe it? Then what? So I have a cognitive distortion, I notice it, but then I'm in the midst of an emotional storm and I say, no, I am a horrible person. Okay. Sometimes that'll happen, guys. And it's more common than you think. Like say I forgot my brother's birthday. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. But earlier in the day, I'd made a couple mistakes, and earlier in the week, I had hurt somebody's feelings on accident. And I forgot to, and I told somebody else I would do this, and I forgot, and I just had a rough week, and I finally just broke, and now I'm in an emotional storm, and I think I am a horrible person, and my mind's even pulling things back from like when I was a teenager and in 7th grade, I stepped on a snail on purpose, and I did a prank, and my brother got hurt when I was 5, and you start finding all these different things to justify this cognitive distortion. It's going to happen to you at some point, probably. It's happened to me a number of times. It happens to everybody. It's pretty common. But the point is, in these situations, noticing it, the cognitive distortion obviously isn't going to work because you're in the point where you believe it, right? So noticing it's not going to work, and reframing it's probably not going to work either because you believe that you are actually a horrible person or whatever the distortion is. So when we have a distortion like this and it gets to the point where we can't, noticing it doesn't help and reframing it doesn't help, then we want to try something. We need to put more effort into solving the issue. Okay, and so we have a couple worksheets for you that kind of do the same thing. One's a little bit longer and more detailed, and then the other one's a little bit shorter. But either way, whichever one works for you is good. But basically, in this circumstance, the worksheets help you work through your thoughts and actually force you to start using the rational part of your brain instead of just the emotional part of your brain, right? So let me show them to you real quick. So what we're going to do is I'm going to post them into the Schoology assignment just so you could see them. And we're not going to assign something that you have to turn in today because I'm going to trust that you're just going to read through these questions just so that you're aware that they're there. Because in the event that you're ever in the point where you're having this major cognitive distortion and it's affecting you in a really negative way, we want you to have this resource to be able to go look at it and work through it on your own. So the worksheets, one's called Challenging Negative Thoughts. And so it's just going to ask you questions about what's going on. And I'll go into the other one, just they're kind of the same thing. This one's called Socratic Questions. So like it's going to make you list what is the thought to be considered, right? The thought is, I am a horrible person. That's what's really affecting me right now. So then it's going to ask you questions about it, and it's going to force you to think through it and list the things down. What is the evidence for it? What is the evidence against it? And it'll help you work through what is actually going on in your mind. And it, like I said, it's going to activate the rational part of your brain, which takes energy away from the emotional part of your brain, which is what's making you be in the emotional storm. So not a whole lot of scientific language in that one, guys. Sorry about that, but take 5. I had to get through it. So to recap all of today's lesson, okay, we're learning about cognitive distortions, and cognitive distortions are an error in our thinking. Okay. The reason that it's important to learn about them is because there is a relationship between our thoughts, our feelings, and our behaviors. If our thoughts are wrong and they're negative, they can have a negative impact on our feelings and behaviors, which can then impact our thoughts again. And so it can actually create a pretty difficult cycle. Okay, we learned about the all or nothing, thinking in absolutes. We learned about overgeneralizing, taking one or two events and extrapolating to make that like who I am, or something more absolute. It's kind of related to it. And then there's jumping to conclusions and mind reading. So having one thing happen and then making an assumption that this is what that person meant. So from there, we talked about what we can do if we can identify it. So if it's sometimes it's such a minor thing that just noticing that we had a false thought, a cognitive distortion, sometimes that's enough. Sometimes it's a little bit tougher and we have to reframe it in a way. And then lastly, sometimes it can be so powerful that it's more like a storm and we actually have to sit down and put some effort into correcting that thought to make us feel a little bit better. Okay, guys, I know that last video was pretty long, but just to to recap what you need to do next, we just want you to, the homework, think about the different cognitive distortions and try to identify them in your thoughts, and then look through those 2 worksheets. Just read through the questions that are posted in your Schoology assignment. Other than that, that's it, guys. That's it for the day. Take care. See you all tomorrow, next week. So see you. See you soon, hopefully. There's a stop button.